Okay, the stock which is right now on our radar is Patel Integrated Logistics. The stock is holding up in the green, currently higher by close to about 5%. It's a small company. The market cap is only about 200 crore, but the stock has definitely been a multi-bagger. Let's pull up the one-year performance of this particular stock. It's seen an up move of close to about 750% just in the last 1 year. As you can see on your screen, it used to be virtually in single digits, perhaps the same time last year. Arif Patel, the vice chairman of the company, now joins in. Good afternoon, Mr. Patel, and thanks so much for joining in. This time around, while the top line growth is okay at 6.5%, you managed to improve your margins to 4%. What's the outlook on margins going ahead? Can we expect further improvement, and what contributed to the margin gains?
Well, basically our focus in the last 6 months to 12 months has been on the e-commerce sector, which is, as you know, has been growing at a very fast and active pace. And as we move forward, the company has decided to focus further in terms of the e-com boom which India is facing. And in the next 2 to 3 years, anywhere from 24 to 36 months, nearly 25% to 30% of our revenues will be coming from the e-commerce business into the game. With that, definitely we see an expansion of margin, better margins, better bottom lines, and definitely a more healthy and robust future.
Okay. All right. Mr. Patel, just concentrating on your performance this quarter, can you just tell us how each of your segments did in terms of performance this time round, and what each of them actually do for you in terms of the business, to just better explain the business model to us as well?
Okay, basically we're probably the only company in India which services 125 airports, which gives a 24-hour delivery across any airport from any airport, basically from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Gujarat right up to Guwahati. We are definitely poised to be the only company that can give that kind of service. The only other company in this segment is Blue Dart, which can operate this service. That is what we do for the e-commerce players. That is why we are dealing with the large e-com players like Amazon. We're talking to another 2 or 3 mid-sized players who we are in active connection with, and hopefully we plan to close that up. Our other business is our warehousing business, which also is going to have a huge upturn with the advent of GST, which is hopefully going to come up after the budget, which we look to expand on. The other segment is predominantly our transportation and distribution business, which also caters to nearly 800 plus offices in India. We plan to leverage these 800 offices and actually grow into a much larger share of the pie as the e-com and as the business grows in all areas and as the industry really picks up. These are basically the areas we operate under.
Okay, can you tell us currently what percentage of your revenues come from e-commerce? Because you indicated a target that in the next few years you want e-commerce to contribute about 25 to 30% of your overall business. And secondly, what are the margins that you hope to enjoy in e-commerce compared to your other businesses like warehousing as well as transport distribution?
Well, basically currently e-com is in the nascent stage in India. We are currently doing about 4 to 5%. As I shared with you, the next 12 months to 36 months, we look to anywhere at the end of 36 months come up to at least 20 to 25% of our total revenues. Coming to your question on margins, we believe margins will stay firm for the next at least 2 years to 3 years till larger players are coming into the country, into the business. India is going to witness a huge e-com boom like the US or like any other Western country or like China is, and we hope to be part of the whole action.
Okay.
We are looking at margins anywhere from 15% up to 20%.
Okay. Mr. Patel, you spoke about Amazon being one of your clients within the e-commerce space. Who are your other clients? Who is the biggest contributor to your numbers right now in the e-commerce segment, even though it's nascent? And which are the other 2 companies that you might be in talks with? Just to give us a sense in terms of, are they Indian e-commerce companies?
We're looking at...
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, basically we're looking at 3 mid-size e-com companies to tie up with. Currently, Amazon is our biggest customer in the e-com space. We spend a lot of time focusing on their service delivery. We spend a lot of time giving them the kind of required service that they do need. We spend a lot of time making sure that we are able to cater to their needs and requirements. Having said that, there are definitely other players in the market who are actively looking. There are regional e-com companies today also. There are companies that are only operating in southern India. There are companies that are only operating in certain parts of India. They're still getting their logistics, their back end, their front end, their technology space back online. And we hope all these companies would deal partially or fully or some part deal with us in the segment of delivery.
So overall, what can we expect in terms of revenues from the company in FY16 on a consolidated basis?
On a consolidated basis, we're looking at, hopefully we are trying to touch at least 550 crores. We are seeing strong numbers and hopefully we should be there by the way it's going.
FY15
However, I would like to point out here that we are this year, I mean I'm talking this F15, yeah, 15.
Okay.
Sorry.
And just one quick...
I'd like to point out here that we're more a bottom line driven organization, so it's more linked to the bottom line.
Okay, and one quick question then, sir, wanted a sense in terms of your warehousing business. How much can we do in terms of percentage growth maybe in the next quarter and next 2 quarters and even on the EBIT?
Well, on the warehousing business, I'd like to point out here that GST is still hazy. We do not know how the GST rollout plan has really impacted. While we have been waiting for the business, we are ready for the GST advent. We are ready to implement the GST. We do not know which way and how the GST would actually, flow down to relatively to the business. So we have warehouses today in Chennai. Okay. We have a bonded warehouse in Chennai. We have a warehouse in Bangalore. We're eagerly setting a warehouse in Bombay and Delhi. So I would only like to say that we're ready for the GST and the warehousing boom. Which way it's going, unless the GST rolls out, in which format, how does it benefit the manufacturing industry, only at that point can we take a decision.
Okay. All right, Mr. Patel, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in. Stock is higher by now 7%. By the way, let's pull up the stock price of Eicher Motors. Remember, it comes out with its earnings. Expected to be a strong set of earnings driven by Royal Enfield.